we're in the middle of a bit of marathon with Pacific Ridge. We started at Roundup. We had a booth on Monday, Tuesday, and then we were fortunate enough to get an invitation to the Core Shack, which is always a pleasure. And for the geologists amongst you, I hope some of you got the chance to stop by. But it was a great opportunity for us. The last time I was in a Core Shack was with a company called Camplats. And we made a discovery in Mexico in, my goodness, 2007. And in the space of a couple of years, we had outlined a 4 million ounce deposit and was subsequently sold to Goldcorp for over 300 million. So I have very fond memories of being in the Core Shack, and I'm hopeful that we may see the same result with Pacific Ridge. So as Eric mentioned, we are focused on BC. Our goal is to become BC's leading copper gold exploration company. I'm going to make tons of forward-looking statements, so basically assume everything I say is a forward-looking statement. So I came on as CEO of Pacific Ridge in January 2021. At that time, I think it was important for us as a company to really define what it was that we were trying to do. What were we trying to achieve? And at that time, I would have said our goal was to become BC's leading copper gold exploration company. And we've done that. Now our goal is to become BC's leading copper gold exploration company. So in January 2021, when I came on, we had 2 copper gold porphyry projects, our flagship Kliyul and another project called Redton. Since then, we've acquired 3 more copper gold porphyry project assets. We now have 5. We've strengthened our board, we've strengthened our management team, and we've had a number of aggressive exploration programs that have been very successful. As you can see by the numbers there, Kliyul is the flagship. We completed the largest ever drill program there this year, over 7,000 meters and 12 holes. Hole 50, which we reported last week, was our best hole from this campaign. And then, of course, you see RDP, which is optioned to Antofagasta, one of the world's largest copper miners. We optioned that to them earlier last year. They funded an 1,800-meter program, and that's a fantastic hole. It was one of the best holes out of BC last year. I'm hopeful that we will secure funding for an additional program at RDP this year also. So we are fully funded. This year was our busiest, or I should say, 2022 was our busiest exploration season ever for Pacific Ridge, and that goes back a long way. It was taken public by one of my mentors, John Brock, in 1979, so I think I was in grade 3 at the time. So it's been around a while, but it's always had great management, people I very much respect and emulate, and I'm trying to keep that legacy going strong. So we had 2 programs last year, as I mentioned, 7,000 meters at Kliyul, 1,800 meters at RDP. This year, we're looking to complete about the same amount of drilling at Kliyul, about 7,000 meters. And we're also looking to launch an inaugural drill program at a project called Chuchi, which is located to the south in close proximity to Mount Milligan. And of course, we're waiting to hear about Antofagasta's plans for RDP. So it's likely we will have 3 drill programs this year. So a very aggressive exploration program. Now, why porphyries? Why copper gold porphyries in BC? When we first made the acquisition of Kliyul in January 2020, copper was trading just slightly north of $2. There wasn't a lot of interest in porphyries in BC at the time. I would say from the peak of the last cycle, 2010, 2011, up until last year, not a lot of interest. But since then, in this last couple of years, we've seen a tremendous amount of interest in porphyry projects in BC, and largely that's driven by the price of copper, which is the forecasted demand, but also increased political, social, environmental risk in South America. So we're seeing the seniors make the acquisitions, make the joint ventures, make the strategic investments, and we've benefited from that ourselves with Antofagasta. And I suspect that this will carry on, and these sort of projects in BC will continue to become more and more valuable. There we go. Management and board, Jerry Carlson, an old hand, a great exploration career. He's our executive chairman. Myself, more of a capital markets background. I have over 20 years experience and have worked for 5 companies that have been subject to M&A, a number that have been a part of the TSX Venture 50. So I know what it's like to take a company from discovery to transaction, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here at Pacific Ridge. We're trying to make this sort of discovery that will be big enough to attract M&A activity, and I think we've got something here with Kliyul to do that. Very strong technical team. Danette Schwab's our VP Exploration, Paul Jago, who we just picked up from Centerra, and an excellent independent board. It's comprised of 5 people, myself, Jerry, who are officers of the company, and 3 independents. So from a corporate governance standpoint, that's very important also. I like to think I'm running the company, but I serve at the leisure of the board. Share structure is quite attractive. We have retail 52, funds and institutions about 42. Our largest shareholders are Crescat and Delphi, a German fund. We just closed a $6 million financing in December, so we have about $7.3 million in the treasury. We'll be allocating $5 million to Kliyul and $2 million to Chuchi. Another important part of this equation is liquidity. We are a pretty good trader, and that's really important for a lot of different reasons, especially for funds and institutions. They don't want to buy you if they can't sell you. If you don't trade, they can't sell. They're not going to buy. We have 1 analyst covering us, M Partners. I hope to get more, but right now they've got a target price of 65 cents, which would represent about a 100% return at current price levels. So where are we? We are in the Quesnel Trough. This is a prolific porphyry district. It essentially extends from northern BC all the way down to the border. It hosts most of BC's porphyry mines. We're at the northern end. The closest porphyry mine to ourselves would be Mount Milligan, where we have a number of projects close by, including Chuchi, which we plan to drill. But starting at the north, it's a very active area. I mean, we're one of 3 companies here that are in the northern Quesnel Trough. You have Thesis, which is a little bit north of Benchmark's Lawyers. You have A-Mark with their Joy, which is option to Freeport. Then you have the Chemist Mine, and we're just about 50 kilometers south of that, our Kliyul. We're very lucky that the Chemist Mine was developed because it means that there is infrastructure in the area. There is a forestry road. There's adjacent power, and we're only about 5 kilometers off that. So yes, we're in a very sparsely populated area of the world, but there is pretty good infrastructure. And if we can outline something big enough, it will certainly lower the hurdles to get that product to market. Quickly, a little history on Kliyul. We acquired this option in January 2020 from Centerra. We have the right to acquire 75% interest. We're there right now. The biggest hurdle for that acquisition was exploration expenditures. We had to spend $7 million. We've spent $7.5. So there's 2 things that could happen here right now. Either we formalize that joint venture, or we can get creative and find a way that we can acquire that remaining 25%, which is something we're working on. It would make this project a lot more attractive to seniors that might ultimately look to make a strategic investment or buy if we can find something big enough. So we are working on acquiring that remaining 25. There hadn't been a lot of work on this project prior to us acquiring it, only 33 drill holes and 5,500 meters. Our drill program this past year was a 7,000 meter program, so it more than doubled the amount of drilling. We're getting fantastic results, as you can see here. And what we were really trying to demonstrate in last year's program, that it has size potential. We believe these grades work. When we compare these higher grade intervals to some of the other deposits and mines in BC, the copper grades are favorable, compare favorably, has higher gold values, so overall a higher copper equivalent, a higher gold equivalent. So it gives us a lot of confidence if we can continue to outline the size or the body of mineralization and get it to a certain tonnage, it could be attractive to a senior miner. And again, this is the highlight really from last year's program. I mean, we stepped out to the north, to the south, to the east and the west, and we intersected mineralization in all our holes. So we now have a footprint that measures about 600 meters by 350 meters to 600 meters in depth. And you can put a specific gravity on that of whatever you might like. And when you crunch that, you can start to see you're starting to get the sort of tonnage that might be of interest to a mid-tier miner or senior miner. But this image also demonstrates that there's a lot of potential for it to continue to grow. And that's what we'll be focused on this year, in addition to testing some adjacent targets that could also be porphyry centers. High-level summary, Kliyul, RDP. So this is option to Antofagasta. One of the best holes we saw from BC last year. I'm pretty confident that Chile will give the green light for an even more expanded drill program there this year, but we're still waiting to find out. Chuchi, We again acquired this from Centerra. We haven't drilled this yet. We have carved out $2 million for a 1,500 meter, 2,000 meter program there this year. You know, Kliyul is our flagship, but Chuchi is more advanced. As a matter of fact, it's seen more drilling, but most of it's been shallow, just like Kliyul historically. And that's really the case with so many of these showings in BC. Historical drilling was shallow. If you're going for porphyries, you need to drill deeper. And that's what we'll be doing here at Chuchi also, in the hopes of continuing to demonstrate size potential. So there you go, Pacific Ridge. We had an incredibly busy year. This year will be even busier. We are fully funded to do it. We have an outstanding technical team and technical committee. We're guided by a strong independent board. We have the right projects at the right time in an area that historically, or in the last decade, hasn't seen a lot of exploration and is very much on the radar of major miners that are looking for geographic diversification. Thank you.